Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms. And we are joined here. We almost have a full house. Devin Circus, Jake Circus, Riley Goldman, and this is the week 2 preview of Jungle Talk. All right. I can never get you guys to do anything. You just shake your head and stare at me. So for the podcast, make a little noise, a hooday or something, because we do put the audio up on Spotify. Doesn't get a lot of listens, but some people like to listen in their car. So, before I get started, let me ask, please, if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. It's all we ask. Just support the channel. Hit the bell so you know when you get our videos go up, and hit the thumbs up on YouTube. It helps us out with the YouTube analytics. And Jake, tell them where they can find all your stuff. You do some great podcasts.
Yeah, Jake Circus podcast on Spotify. Back 2 episodes a week, one on Monday morning, one on Wednesday morning for NFL and college football. Twitter at Jake Circus. All my picks are on there. And then I got two more for today at the end of the show.
There you
I don't know
go.
why I gave out Michigan last week. That was a bummer,
You,
but
you know what you said that you said, oh well, this spread's getting out of control, right? But it wasn't out of control enough. So
nope.
but the Texas State was, if you bet that one, if you bet them individually, the Texas State, you were never worried. I mean, that was done at halftime. So
Those,
those are the
that's
ones we like.
that's my team. They play tonight. Big game against ASU.
There
Go
you go.
Bobcats.
All right. So well, we'll see if that's one of your picks. And obviously we got super fans, Devin Circus and Riley Goldman. Riley, are you doing anything on your sports balls? Do you want to plug your Twitter or anything?
Sure.
Or
Put
the
up a
app
couple
formerly
posts
known as
last,
Twitter or
yeah. Put up a couple posts last week on Twitter or whatever you want to call it. At Sportsball with three L's at the end. Gonna try and make it more consistent, but just doing a ton of things at school and just trying my best with it. But I
so
am starting a podcast. We film tomorrow at some point, but we'll see if it gets. We filmed it last week. It didn't get put up, but we'll see. Hopefully, it gets done this week. We're figuring it out.
all right, good. Like I said, any stuff you're doing, your content, promote it. So and kudos to Devin and Riley. I know how hard it is to do those recaps. It was well received. We had good views, good retention. We're there for you right after the game, rain or shine. And those are hard to do, but I gotta tell you, therapeutically, I always feel better after we do them. I mean, that's why therapy works. Talk to somebody. So it's like the airing of your grievances. So but let's jump in. We usually, as we always do, we're going to do the things we feel good about and don't feel good about. And there's a lot to not feel good about this week. So we're going to get that out of the way first. Um, you know, I mean, where do you start? Chiefs look good on opening day. Chiefs are coming off extended rest. You know, Chiefs, you got to feel good if you're a Chiefs fan. And we didn't do anything on Sunday to instill any faith that this team could go into Kansas City and win. So, I mean, I'll just start there and you guys can tell me what you think.
No, I completely agree. If you're going off of how the team looked and historical track record, we're not feeling real good about this game. To play the flip side of that, Bengals fans and media, social media love to, Jake and I argue about trends all the time, and Bengals fans love to, well, the Bengals are, what is it, 5-1 against Allen and Mahomes, so there's no reason to think that the Bengals are going to win this game because we own Patrick Mahomes. I don't believe in that. I believe in, the team that's on the field. So, I'm not going to be a total Debbie Downer, but look, there's not a lot of optimism. It's not a good spot. If this team has aspirations of going to the Super Bowl, this is where it's time to, step up and perform. But we'll see if they do that on Sunday. But today we talk about what we think is going to happen and what we think will happen, and we'll get into it. But not an ideal spot. Would have much rather these
Oh,
two games flip. Give us the Chiefs in week 1. Let's lay the egg there, and let's play the Pats in week 2. But
yeah.
we don't all that.
Yeah, it didn't work out that way. Yeah, I mean the Bengal loss in week 1 has to be the most disappointing one of the week when you look, at the outcome of the week. I know the Raiders kind of went flat in the second half and all that, but there weren't the expectations. This was a team we should have been able to handle at home. This is one of those ones we always talk about. Good teams win the games they're supposed to win. This was a game we were supposed to win, and I know the Pats throw a lot of cover too, and it messed us up, but still, that's a game If Tanner Hudson doesn't fumble, we win. I mean, there's a lot of things, but still, as a team, they didn't go out. They got beat up front in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and that's the thing that makes you really worried the most. Is that the in the trenches on both sides of the ball, we were outplayed.
Yeah, 100%.
So, Jim,
I don't know about that. I think that the tackling was really bad and it made the trench play look really bad. But I mean, like, yes, the Patriots offensive line was really bad, but the Bengals were getting to Brissett almost every rep. I mean, the Patriots didn't pass the ball. They only had like 25 dropbacks, I think. But the Bengals led the league in like pressure rate. They just didn't turn any of those into sacks. So it kind of made the line look bad because Hendrickson missed a few what should have been sacks and the interior pressure wasn't like amazing, but the tackling was horrible. Like there was some good reps going back and watching the game back. There were some good reps from almost everybody on the defensive line. They just couldn't tackle, which I mean you got to be able to tackle the Chiefs. So you can't miss. I think Lou said 13 tackles. You can't miss 13 tackles and expect to win a game. Period. And now going to Arrowhead, it's certainly a matchup to look for. But I don't think I'm necessarily like crazy worried about the trenches. I thought the offensive line played well. I thought pieces on the defensive line looked solid. They just got to tackle. This is the most optimistic I think I've been about the Bengals offensive line in quite some time, especially at the beginning of the year when they're normally either hurt or awful. Trent Brown looks like the weak link, and he was battling through some injuries last year, so he hasn't really been on the field that much. But if that's the big issue, Trent Brown, who's your newcomer, you're in a fine spot at that position.
I don't want to seem too everything negative in terms of we will put it together. And and I'll talk about some stuff in the positive, but it's just our history with these 0-2 starts is just too much to look past. And so, like I said, I'm not writing us off. I'm not the season wise, but this week does not look good. And it's funny because when we did the schedule show, we talked about, hey, we'll catch the Chiefs early. I mean, we're so high, we drank the Kool-Aid, Burrow's had a camp, all that. And this game looked like, hey, we'll win the first week. We got a shot at 2-0. And now it's like I said, it's you gotta the season's not over, but we there's a serious possibility of 0-2. There really is. So
I mean,
I heard something this week. Sorry, Riley. I saw you just getting ready. I just want to jump on something you said regarding the missed tackling, and that's not anything new for this team, especially early in the season. But one thing I read over the week is, what are the Bengals doing in training camp? Are they in pads less? Are they tackling less? Are they taking it easier to prevent injuries? What are other teams doing that are not having this problem? And, we don't have a bad defense. We have a strong defense. And, to Jake's point, a lot of the players were in the right spot, making good plays, just not tackling. Is it a reflection on what they're doing in training camp? And I don't know that let me rephrase that. The four of us aren't going to solve that, but it's just an interesting talking point.
yeah.
What you read, I think you took that straight from the Jake Circus podcast on Monday morning.
Is that where I heard it? I heard it somewhere.
Probably. That's about word for word what I said. No, it's seriously like what are the Bengals doing in camp? Because you can't blame what's probably going to end up being. I don't want to seem crazy pessimistic, but they're a touchdown dog. What's probably going to be 3 straight years 0-2.
Yeah.
4 out of 5 years under Zack Taylor, you're 0-2. Like, what are they doing in camp? It's they come out flat in the tackling. The schematics are horrible on offense. I don't think it's a lack of effort. I think this team always plays hard and gives effort, but at some point it just comes down to coaching on both sides of the ball. And I don't want to give a lot of blame to Luke because the defense wasn't the problem the other day. But I mean, again, like I'll blame Zack Taylor on this show every single week if I have to. I think he's a horrible head coach. I've said this for 4 seasons. So again, you're in a spot where you have to overcome adversity and you got to lock it in and get up for a big game. And like more often than not, they do get up for these types of games. But the week to week stuff, Taylor's awful. Like, what are you game planning? What are you doing in camp? It's awful.
Right. No. I think we take it easy too much, and I think the starters need to play more. I know we're risking injury, but I just think they need to play more.
I don't know that, Zach, because no starters are playing more. I don't know that that's the issue.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to Jake's point that I apparently heard on the Jake Circus podcast. So credit to Jake Circus, the Jake Circus podcast. Um, that's got to be part of it. I mean, who knows? But I don't necessarily believe that playing more in these are veterans. They're ready to go. They've got a regimen. They've got a protocol that they need to follow to get in shape in the spring and then in the early summer. And then what happens in training camp, we don't know that answer, but it certainly feels like that's the issue. I don't necessarily believe that playing more exhibition games is the answer. Hell, within 2 years, we're going to have an 18-game schedule and only 1 or 2 preseason games.
Right. So, Riley, jump in.
I mean, the entire Zack Taylor, I'll say the whole Burrow history, because Zack Taylor there was a year before that, whatever. So the whole Burrow history, when this team does well, we go on runs. We've never started well with him. We've never really done well in the first half of the season. It's always a late half push that we either Burrow's healthy and we end up in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl, or Burrow gets hurt and then, the team just falters. But everything we've done with Burrow's success has been late season runs. And I don't think any of us have the answer whether it's Zach or Burrow, and whether it's just the pressure at the end of the year and bigger games coming up. But this is as big of a game in the second week we've had in Burrow's career. So it'll be interesting to see how the guys come out. I mean, the reports are saying the guys are fired up. It's saying they have a different swagger, but that was also said before last week's game and through the entire preseason. So who knows what the media is even saying or even knows at this point.
Right.
Yep. And keep in mind, 0-2 start. It's also an 0-2 conference start, which hurts you in the tiebreakers.
Right. So, but well, it's we'll jump into like the injury report. I mean, there's really nothing negative on Marquise Brown. I don't whether he plays or not. I don't even really think they need him. So there's really nobody else
he's not a
nobody else was full practice. So there's really nothing on the Chiefs. Like I said, they've had extended rest. They got some really nice tape to watch from us last week, in terms of rattling our team. So it's the injury. But on our side, Logan Wilson, what's the deal? He's limited today. He didn't practice yesterday. We need him. I mean, there's no question. He has to play.
Well, again, going back and watching the Chiefs-Ravens game, the Reed was putting Rice in a lot of linebacker matchups. I mean, I expect him to do that all year with Rashee Rice, especially with, you now have Worthy, so he can stretch the field on the outside. So you can put Rashee Rice in the slot more and, spread the field out and get him on linebackers. Logan's not in there. I mean, I don't like that matchup, period. But if Logan's not in there, you have no chance of stopping Rashee Rice. I mean, you're going to have to, go cover 3, bring a safety down in the box to guard Rashee Rice, and then you open up a bunch of different things that the Bengals don't want to do, considering what Lou has tried to do against Mahomes for the last 4 years and had some success doing. It's playing the 2 high and dropping, 8 guys back in coverage and using Hubbard a lot in the middle of the field, just patrolling. And they can't do that if Logan Wilson's not out there. I don't think.
Right. Yeah. Well, at least he didn't practice yesterday. At least he was limited practice today. The other note would be, BJ Hill was back to full practice. So,
that was like the only in-game injury, right? Like, did Logan's injury pop up in practice, or because BJ Hill left the game for a little bit and then came back? So that's good to see that he's fine.
Right. Yeah, he's back to full. Burrow full. So, and then Higgins, I don't know. Is he playing? Is he not playing? No. So, I'm going to defer. I got to agree with what Devin said in the show. It's like, let's get through this year and then goodbye. And maybe I just, we need you. You're getting paid. I know you didn't get your big contract, but still $22 million.
And just for the record,
$2 million a month. Come on. I mean,
he needs us. He ain't getting 4-1.
Oh, yeah.
He's getting 4-1. He's not even getting 4-100 unless he puts out this year. T, when you're looking at, projections and, fantasy this, fantasy that, you put T up there with Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith as the best number 2s in the NFL that you could argue are number 1s. But when you really dig into T's the old expression, the best availability. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
it's the most important ability is availability.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
He ain't there. And the amount of games he misses specifically for hamstrings is staggering. This dude's got to have a good season if he wants a major contract. Otherwise, he's going to be looking at a 2-year, $40 million deal from the Panthers. Good luck.
Right.
Have fun.
Well, that's the thing. You'll get some money. You won't be on a team you want to be on, you know. So if you want to start playing in relevant games, you can't go to Carolina, at least not where they are right now. I'm not saying they can't get there, but based on what we're seeing, like I said, you're going to wind up playing a bunch of irrelevant games. So, and I know T's been used to playing in relevant games. I mean, heck, he played in a Super Bowl and 2 AFC championships. So,
and had a push off to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
there you go. Hey, you know what? Do we get in there? That we got the push off. They got the phantom holding on Logan Wilson. It was what it was. We still had a chance to win the game. I'll never half second. And I told you I went to Def Leppard Journey, and I sat there and with my friend, and I said, I was sitting there. That's where Jalen Ramsey was on the ground. And that's where, Chase would have been open for just a lollipop if he just got it in the air. So I have to relive that every time I'm in SoFi. So, which will be this Saturday for Green Day, by the way. So there you go. Smashing Pumpkins Green Day. So that's by Saturday. Well, are we done with the negative? Because we could sit and talk gloom and doom.
Yeah, let's move on from the negative.
All right. So positives and it's not about this game. It's the next 2 games after this. That's the most optimistic thing I can tell you. I don't know what order it is, but don't we have Washington, Carolina? Okay.
Yeah.
So guys, even if we lose this week, we should be, and if we go 0-2, this team's they've got to start sounding the alarm bell. We should be 2-2 by week 4. Okay, that's the most positive thing I can leave Bengal fans with is look at the schedule. We'll be 500 by week 4. Okay, so
it just hit me. We talk about similarity. There's so many similarities season to season. Like there were similarities from 2 years ago that mirrored 3 years ago with the run at the end of the season. You remember week 3 last year, the must win?
I'm trying to remember.
When Burrow played on one leg and almost gave Mike Brown a heart attack?
Correct. It was Monday night against the Rams in a
game
yes. They could lose, but they have to win and should win. And if we lose to KC this week, because next week's Monday night, Washington, it's a game by all accounts should win, but Jaden Daniels is going to scare you. Like it's crazy how year to year, and maybe I just see it. Maybe every team has something like this, but I just see it because I watch the Bengals closely. But stuff like that trips me out. But yeah.
But that's the most optimistic thing. It's like, even if we go into Kansas City, if we don't get the win, I'd like to at least say, wow, okay, I'm seeing progress. Yeah, we were in the game to the end. We had our chances, that kind of thing. Hey, it's a tough road win. And to be honest with you, I'd rather lose this week and win a postseason game against them than the reverse. Win this week and then they get the payback game, sometime in the playoffs, provided we get to the playoffs. So
2021, we can just beat them in both,
Yeah.
But so, but just like I said, the most positive thing, the 2-2 after week 4. Yeah. We win the next 2 after this. So, but I would like to see us show up this week. And I do have hope that Lou's going to get something more out of his defense. I think the tackling is going to be better this week. Dax Hill can't miss as many tackles as he missed. He was decent in coverage, but the tackles, when he had opportunities behind the line to make plays and didn't do it. So didn't even slow the guy down. Just kind of bounced off him. So I think the defense is going to look better this week. So I think Lou has something in store, for us. So
let's hope, because the challenge rises with the offense. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson in a silo is a good running back. He's certainly not elite, but and Pacheco, very similar, very good running back, runs hard. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me.
Good
north-south runner. Wish I could have controlled that. I couldn't.
Put that in the other room.
Runs hard. Type of guy that is going to give a team that can't tackle well fits.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. We would make contact with Stevenson. when we punted the ball away, and we can go back to this, we should never have punted the ball away at the end of the game. But when we punted the ball away, what made you think you were going to stop them? I mean, they just, yeah, that was it. I mean, we have to be able to, we cannot make contact but still give up 5 yards every time they run the ball.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean,
so.
if we're looking to the future a little bit, the first 2 weeks obviously should have been a win week 1, but 2-2. Ravens don't have an easy start to the season either, and I think they're the biggest competition in the North. I'm Browns and Steelers. I'm not even going to go in there, but Ravens have an easy game this week against who do they play? They play
Raiders.
the
Yeah, they have
Raiders.
to play the
But then
Raiders.
they have the Cowboys in Dallas
brutal.
next week, and then they have the Bills in Baltimore the week after before they play us in week 5.
Right.
So like they don't have an easy start to the season either. So I mean, I'd be happy 2-2 if they're 1-3.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
Mark,
mean-
you always talk about segments of the season. If we can somehow figure out a way to be 3-2 after 5 games, I don't care which 3 and which 2 they are. Get us if we're 3-5 after 5, I'll take it.
3-2.
Jake's on that.
What?
3-2 after
no,
5.
You
I just had a problem with your math. That was all I had.
I said 3-2 after 5.
No, you said 3-5 after 2 or something. It's
Oh.
okay. It's all we got what you want. Yeah, I agree. Oh, I agree with you 100%. Is the 3-2. I don't care how we get them, but we need them. So
They just need to keep they just need to improve. Like they need to play better. They need to game plan better. They need to tackle better. Burrow needs to be better. The coach needs to everything needs to be better. Like if it's not, like it doesn't matter how easy the schedule is, or week by week predicting we're gonna go 4-1 in this 5-week stretch. If they don't play better, then the season's gonna be lost. I mean, there's not enough elite players on this team where if Burrow's not playing well and they're not tackling, there's no other game changer that can carry us to wins. I mean, Burrow was awful. And I know that they had the fumble, and then Gesicki dropped a touchdown pass, and they had another fumble. But Burrow was playing scared. It looked like he hadn't played football in forever. Burrow needs to be better. I mean,
right.
Everybody needs to be better. So it doesn't matter who's on the schedule. They need to play better.
Right.
Correct.
Well, I do think they will. I do. I think that was a huge wake-up call. I do think they come out with more intensity. Given where they are, who they're playing, and the amount of rest and preparation Andy Reid had for this game, this is a tough ask. But that's why I said I would be happy if we lost a close game. To me, that would be a win. We went in and lost a close game. It's not a win, but it would be. I would feel a lot better going into 3, 4, and 5. That's just my feelings. And yeah, I'm glad I'm not the Browns. We didn't touch on Deshaun Watson, but it's just.
Ooh, you use touch and Deshaun Watson in the same.
You know what? I didn't even mean to do that. But that's perfect. That's perfect.
Boss man.
Hey, this isn't a masseuse or anything. This is an actual civilian he was dating. I just shake my head, but
Let's flush that brown one down.
That floater, yep. So all right, we got anything other good we want to talk about? We have anything we think I have a feeling we're gonna try to establish the run in this game, and we might be successful doing it.
Yeah, they went away from it.
So
the Bengals, they didn't have any explosives, but they had one run of 15 yards, but they were getting some push, and they were doing pretty well in the run game. This is the Chiefs' weakness on defense. They have had a bad run defense for upwards of 2 years now. The stuff that Spags runs, it's not very reliant on having good run fits. They have, a good secondary, but the Chiefs are very vulnerable in the run game. If Zack Taylor can't realize that and does not have a plan to attack that, this game will be 14-3 at halftime.
right.
The Bengals have a perfect chance to establish the run, keep Mahomes off the field, something that wasn't available in 2021 when they beat them twice and they just scored a shit ton of points. That needs to be the game. That needs to be the game plan here. Especially with Burrow now, we don't know what's up, what's going on there. Like you got 2 running backs that you can use.
Right.
They need 7 carries each in the first half.
Yeah,
6,
I
7
agree.
carries.
No, we
It's
established
games
the
like
run. We'll
this.
we'll open up the passing game.
There
It'll help Burrow out a lot. So
There was a lot of talk in the offseason about the move from Mixon to Moss/Brown. And I've heard other people say this. I personally feel that the move to Zach Moss of a tough, again, north-south, slobber knocker of a runner was for games like this, the
yeah,
big boy games where he wears you down to exactly what Jake just said, set the tone, move the chains, be methodical, and set up the play action. And, the other thing, Jake, you hit on Burrow really well, didn't throw downfield at all. Use the run to set up the downfield pass.
yeah. No, it'll help him.
Yep.
It'll also help Chase Brown because he's more explosive than Moss. So if he ends up
Yes.
breaking one, if you're able to establish the ground game, I mean, Chase Brown is one of those you can hand him the ball on a 3rd and 2, and he may go the distance. So
Or screen passes. I mean, not to get all nostalgic, but how about Samaje's phenomenal, what was that, 35, 40 yards a couple of years ago against KC? And I think that was in the AFC Championship game that we lost, right? Let's
right.
see some of that with Chase.
Yeah.
That's
No. Samaje's pass was in the AFC game that we won. It changed the whole game. If that play doesn't happen, we don't win that game.
Was it the one we won? Okay, I forgot
Yes.
which game.
Yeah, it was like right before halftime. Then the Chiefs went down and drove down the field, and then Eli Apple got the
Got
stop.
the tackle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good apple, bad apple. So where is Apple these days?
he's out of the league. I mean, there's
Oh,
like, but I'm not. We're gonna get off the rails here, but I'll say this, and I've defended Eli Apple on this show tons of times. There's nothing that anyone can say that will make me hate Eli Apple for what he did to our team in 2021. He was amazing. That was a hero.
Oh no.
He was our best defensive secondary player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After playing horrible in the beginning of the season. In the beginning of the season, he would either.
It was still very good. I think that's where you were going to go, Jake.
What about Chidobe, Vaughn, and Bates? It's not that he was better than anybody. We signed him off the street, and he played the most defensive snaps out of anybody in the league.
Yeah.
That year.
All right, so let's go with our predictions. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right, who wants to go first? I went first last week, so somebody else go.
Yeah, someone else go first. I'll go.
You're up, Riley. Oh, Jake.
I'm up.
I'll go.
Let Jake take it. I have to do that.
I'm gonna give Zack Taylor the benefit of the doubt and think that he can go onto any database and see that the Chiefs are vulnerable against the run and find any stat that backs that up, because there's a lot of them that do. So I'll assume that he's smart enough to do that, and the Bengals try to run the ball. Got a low scoring, high variance type game. 2017 Chiefs. Bengals have a chance at the end. Don't make enough plays.
Right. Okay. All right. I was kind of similar to that. So, no, I was a 24-20, ugly kind of game, but we're in it. I don't ever see one of these teams pulling away. I think the defense will show an improvement. I think we'll get to Mahomes. I at least rattle him. I think this is I think I said 24-20. I think we have our chances. Don't pull it out, but we feel good about when we're doing the wrap-up show after the game this week. We're a lot more optimistic about the season than we were doing the wrap-up show where Devin was, I don't want to do this. All right, no, we have to do it. So that's what I had 24-20. Mine was close to.
At least this week after the wrap-up show, we don't have to worry about missing another game. That's always my biggest thing to watch the afternoon games or the late game. We get a break before the Sunday night game. I'll go next unless you want it, Riley.
You can take it.
All right. So it's games like this where the picks are fun, because if you pick the Bengals, you're a homer. And if you pick, again, it's where I love reading the comments. If you pick against the Bengals, well, how dare you pick against your team? And I'm not sitting here saying we're journalists. We're just fans that think what we think.
No, but we're realistic.
Right.
We're not trying to sit here and just, if you want to have smoke blowing up your, go to another show. If we don't think we're going to win, we're going to be honest.
Yeah. I honestly have no idea what to expect. I mean, we could go in and win this game. We could absolutely get blown out. I think the Chiefs control it. The Bengals do just enough to keep it close and keep us at bay and optimistic is the right word. I think the Chiefs win at 30-17.
Okay.
I mean, I'm kind of in the middle of everything. I think it's higher scoring than we expect, but not touchdowns. I think there's a lot of decent sustained drives and then just a kicking battle between these
Butker
two
and
teams. I think it's 26-23. I think each team has a couple field goals apiece, a couple touchdowns apiece, and kind of just you make one big play, but then can't finish the drive, and then a field goal to finish it off. I think it happens a bunch of times this game.
yeah, I want to say I would love, and we would all love to be wrong. I would love to eat crow. I would love to do a wrap-up show where the Bengals win. And I say, hey, you know what? They really showed up and eat crow, and I was wrong and be wrong. Prove me wrong. But I can't get up here when I'm looking at a spread, which I don't actually think is a big enough spread. And I know I can tease it and have the Chiefs with points. And from what I saw last week, if I'm a betting person, I'm not taking the Bengals in 5.5.
Why
I'm just
not?
not.
Well,
So,
you could have had them at 6.
so
So
I
favorites, teams who were favored and lost outright in week 1 and are now an underdog in week 2. They're 48-33 against the spread since 2000. That's 60%. There's 3 of those spots this week. It only happened twice last year. They went 2-0. Falcons, Bengals, Browns, all in that spot this week
Cover in
right
week 2 or to win outright in week 2?
against the spread.
I'm against the spread. Okay. Well, you know what? With those 3 teams, I would say I like our chances better than the Browns in their game.
I think the Browns are better than the Jaguars, and they're getting points.
So, I think I like Jacksonville this week, but we'll see. Home opener. Let's see. Like I said, this is week 2 is so, the slam dunk pick, if you want a slam dunk pick, the Ravens are going to win this week. So if you're in a pick
Yeah.
winners thing, or you could tease them down to like 2. So, I mean, that should be the anchor of your card. They've had extra time to prepare. It's Harbaugh. He's going to have this team. The Ravens are going to be 1-1 after this week. So, like I said, anchor your cards. There's a lot of good over-unders, when you're teasing them. But the staple on your card, in my opinion, should be the Ravens minus 1.5 or 2 on a teaser. I don't see how you don't take that. So, there are certain teams that you absolutely say they're not going 0-2. Looking at the matchups, to me, that's the rate. I don't want it to be, but that's the Ravens when I look at the games this week. So that's my gambler brain, not my heart, says, so Jake, what do you have in terms of picks? Let's hear give us another Texas State. Give me in the pros, but give us another game like that. I love games where you're at half and you only need 1 score for the over. You're just, you don't sweat it. It's just never in doubt.
Well, I am on Texas State tonight, but the lines moved. I mean, I got them as a dog, and now they're favored by 2.5. So a lot of money on Texas State tonight. Hope they win.
Yeah.
I have a 15-1 future on them to make the playoff. I think they're like plus 180 to win the Sun Belt now. So this would be a big win for their playoff futures. North Texas plus 9.5 against Texas Tech. Central Michigan plus 18.5 against Illinois, and then UCF minus 2 against TCU. I'll give those 3 out.
There you go. Excellent. Plenty of ammo for you to load up on some parlays, teasers, whatever you like to play. It's right there. Jake, remind them where they can find all your stuff, since your dad quoted you on your podcast and didn't even realize where he'd heard it. Go
like,
ahead
oh,
and tell him where your podcast
I read
is.
this. I read this somewhere. Maybe my son just said it on his podcast. Jake Circus Podcast, Spotify.
One of your listeners.
2 episodes a week. We do a NFL show on Sunday night. That's up Monday mornings, and then a midweek college football episode. It goes up on Wednesdays. And then all my gambling picks are on my Twitter at Jake Circus, and then you can follow me in the Action Network app, where all my picks are like of all time, like ever. Jake Circus 1 on the Action Network app.
There you go. Riley, go ahead and plug your X.
At Sportsball with 3 L's at the end, and then I'll save the name for the podcast and once it's actually up and running.
Yeah.
And hopefully going to get the guys doing more than just a preview show and doing a recap show early in the week as well. So
Excellent.
Stay tuned for that in the next few.
And then, like I said, if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. This is a show by fans for fans. So just support the channel. We don't try to sell you stuff on the show. We don't ask you for money. We just ask you to support the channel. And you know what? Put your predictions in the comments. Feel free. Tell us we're crazy. Bengals are going to win. Tell us no, Chiefs are blind. Just give us your opinion. Throw it in the comments. Love to see it. Had a lot of comments on the recap show last week, so want to try to keep that going. So, and Bengals, prove me wrong. Prove us all wrong. We all went against you. Prove us wrong. We would love to eat crow on our recap. So subscribe, hit the bell, give us the thumbs up, and hopefully we'll see you after a Bengal win. But if not, we will be here with the recap right after the game. So have a good rest of your week. Enjoy the Bills game tonight. I'm going to say, hoo day, everybody. Take care.
Hooray.
Good day.